Welcome to the Motoring Podcast, your weekly discussion of motoring news. This is episode 78 on Tuesday, the 13th of December, 2016. Hello, I'm Alan.
Hello, I'm Andrew.
Oh, another fine Tuesday evening.
Quite. Another hotel room, Alan.
Another hotel room, yes. So apologies for the echo. It's Scandinavia again, and there's no room for padding. So apologies for any echo this week. There is furniture. I'm not in a position to make fun of Scandinavian furniture.
Good. Pleased to hear
it. Yes.
Anyway, follow-up.
Quite.
Follow-up. Dieselgate follow-up. But this time, not actually Volkswagen. This is the news that the EU is going to take legal action against several countries for not taking legal action against Volkswagen over Dieselgate. This is to do that. They're trying to say, or what the EU is saying is that Britain, Germany, and others have not punished Volkswagen for environmental breaches.
But Andrew,
yes,
have they really committed any environmental breaches of the kind that the EU is desperate to sue Volkswagen for?
Well, not that anybody's been able to say. So this is where I think this podcast gets very confused again. And
I'm
this
confused.
is a conversation I had on Twitter with a renowned motoring journalist, because I said, well, why haven't they been sued before? And they said to me, yeah, but surely you can make a case. I said, well, yeah, I totally agree with you. However, they've got lawyers circling like vultures for over a year, and no one has taken them to court yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether this is part of wider political EU problems, as in, look, we are still relevant, we do look after you people. And it's more of a political move than anything that can be backed up legally.
Mm-hmm. So this was at the end of last week that this came out, and it's according to reports in the Financial Times. And all that they were saying at the time was it was Britain, Germany, and up to 7 other offending EU countries. Although quite what the offence is, I'm not sure. But yeah, so that's really that one. So again, it's the same thing that we say time and time and time again. There's obviously not enough evidence of any law breaking by Volkswagen yet, because if any law breaking happened, he says, trying to make sure we don't get sued just yet, because otherwise they would be in court. And if they're in court in one country, they'd be in court in every single other one as well. Because the government will smell the money, basically.
Yes.
And that's what matters.
There's additional penalties for Britain and Germany because they haven't apparently reported back on what their findings were when they have subsequently tested Volkswagen vehicles.
Right.
And some of the other countries that are being lined up for legal action don't actually have legal penalties in their laws as they were required to as part of the EU laws and legislation.
So that'll be where the trouble is. It was your legislation doesn't comply with EU legislation, rather than you have.
For some of them, yes.
For some, okay.
For Britain and Germany, it's definitely you haven't taken them to court for breaking environmental breaches that no one has taken Volkswagen to court for.
Yeah.
Yet. So,
well, as you can imagine,
we are still in the. Come on, then somebody make a statement that they have actually broken the law by taking them to court.
Yeah, that's it.
We're still not at that, so we've still got this posturing, which is frankly getting silly. If they have, no problem. They need to be taken to court and they need to face the full limit of the penalties. But until then, stop saying they have done it and yet not back it up with action.
Yeah, absolutely. Shall we move on?
Happier follow-up.
Yes, I think it is happier follow-up. We spoke the other week very quickly about Peter Mertens, who was the R&D vice president at Volvo, and how he has moved to Audi now. So Audi are hiring outside the organisation, so that they make sure they've got people in place who can't be implicated even in any part of Dieselgate. So Volvo has appointed a chap called Henrik Green as its new R&D VP.
And you say that I only give you the difficult names. So come on. So unfair.
You only give me the evil names. I did go through and double check. Yeah, just wait till some of the ones that are coming up later, folks, okay? I've had a quick look through. But anyway, Henrik Green is internal. He's worked for Volvo since 1996 in both Sweden and China. Of course, Volvo Cars is owned by Geely, so they have an R&D centre in China as well. Not just that, he isn't. Sorry, I was getting mixed up with Henrik Green, that he'd worked at Mercedes and stuff. Not Henrik Green. Oh, gee, what a good start. I was getting mixed up with Peter Mertens, who had worked at Mercedes and stuff before. There's no mention of that in this.
In this article at all, in any shape or form.
In this article at all, in any shape or form, as furnished to us by Autocar. So yes, Henrik Green, bit of a Volvo long-termer, has been promoted. I'll stop digging a hole now.
Okay. You sure?
Well, not quite, because what I'm going to talk about next is
should we move on to new news?
Yes. So, former Bugatti designer has moved to Hyundai's luxury brand Genesis. A chap called Alexander Selipanov, who was responsible for exterior designs of both the Chiron and the Bugatti Vision GT, is now the Genesis head designer. 33-year-old before that. 33-year-old before Bugatti worked at Lamborghini, where he was part of the Huracan team. And he'll end up reporting directly to Luc Donkervolk. I didn't realise you'd done this. Who is the head of design at Genesis, and who you'll remember was head of design at Lamborghini as well. So yeah, fantastic.
Because there's talk of Genesis coming over here, isn't there?
Well, there is. I've seen two sitting outside the Hyundai, two British registered ones sitting outside the Hyundai headquarters.
Not that you're stalking or anything.
I wasn't. I was returning the hydrogen fuel cell car. Okay. So they were just sitting there right outside the front, and I couldn't miss it.
But that's next year, the year after, isn't it? It's supposed to be possibly.
I don't know. They are a bit of a sort of Infiniti competition in the US. There's a coupe and saloon versions as well. They tend to be good-looking cars, I think.
Yeah.
As opposed to some of the early ones, which were a bit chromy. Nowadays, they are good-looking cars. Yeah, the latest one that came out was the G80 Sport, which is kind of a rival, but I think a little bit bigger than the 5 Series. Just to give you an idea of what kind of scale we're looking at there. So we'll see.
Yep,
it should be interesting.
Yes. Right. Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Vauxhall.
Yes.
Fire.
Again.
Not Zefiras.
No.
Corsas. If you remember earlier on in the year, there was issues with the 1.4s. I think they were. I'm just trying to double check the.
It was the 1.4 litre turbocharged Corsa models.
Yes. So there was a couple of thousand of those got recalled. But there is now claims that there is a new issue with the Corsa D and E models, which are models from 2006.
Yeah, and this is according to an investigation by The Sun.
I think it was on Watchdog as well.
It was. Yes, it was also. Yeah, last week it was then investigated with Watchdog. Sorry, the stories from before that.
So Vauxhall are denying this, but through investigations, it's claimed that the wiring loom is the same as it's in the Zafira B, which is the same that was in the Hummer 3, which has a fault where it gets a little bit toasty.
Okay.
So that's the claim, but Vauxhall have said that's not an issue. But we'll see how Vauxhall react to this one. But they're not doing too well on fires.
No, not really. Not really.
No.
Nor at the firefighting, it seems. We'll see, as I say, we'll see what happens and how that one evolves. Gosh, this was earlier than I was expecting. Some of you might have noticed that we've begun putting out this show on YouTube. It is a bit of an experiment right now, and we're curious to see just what the uptake's going to be. So if you can, please take a moment or two to visit youtube.com/motoringpodcast, subscribe to the channel, and like our videos. You'll find that the video version of this audio show, well, one of the good positives is it doesn't show our faces, so that is a win as far as you're concerned. It is basically still intended to be listened to, despite the fact it's on YouTube, so there's no fancy graphics. But what we'd really like is your feedback on that. So if we are going to do YouTube version, should we just keep it the way that I've done for these few experimental versions? Should we try and make it a little bit more interactive? We only know if it's worth doing this if you guys like and subscribe. That's not some kind of terrible. If you don't do this, we'll pull it. But it's
the only way we
need your feedback. It's the only way we know if anyone's actually listening that way, or what if it's worth the effort. So if you could do that for us, we'd really appreciate it. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to ask you to take a few minutes to tell a friend about Motoring Podcast and Review, and to leave a star rating and review for us via the podcast playing platform of your choice. Of course, as I say every week, the most popular and powerful podcasting platform of all is iTunes, so a 5-star rating on there is hugely influential. But on other podcast apps such as Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Downcast, Overcast and the like, a rating still means a lot, so thank you very much. I realise I've been saying that kind of thing, pretty much those same words, for over a year now, and I'd never actually taken the time to show you how to rate a podcast on iTunes. Now, I'll be doing a follow-up, how to subscribe and rate on iTunes. I'll be doing a follow-up, which I'll probably use Pocket Cast, because it's available across every platform that I can think of, to just show you how easy and quick it is to subscribe to podcasts, and also to leave a rating and a review. So there'll be a link to that video in the show notes. If you please go. Well, you'll see it if you go to youtube.com/motoringpodcast, of course. But if you follow the link, then that'll show you exactly how to subscribe and exactly how to like and rate. I think the entire video showing you how to do both is 1 minute 20 seconds, including an intro. So it really is not a time-consuming thing to do. Ratings, all these things still mean lots. So thank you very, very much. Should we move on?
We can try.
A word from our sponsor. We'll try. So shall we talk about the Mayor of London doubling his funding for clean air initiatives?
We can. This sounds good.
It does.
In theory, at headline level. Is it good further down?
Do you know what? So basically, the Sadiq Khan, Mayor of London, has announced that they're going to be investing $875 million in cleaning up the capital's, according to this wide story, the capital's fetid air. And that's to carry on. I mean, that budget is to go between now and the 2021-2022 financial year. So it is a good few years in that. That's not £875 million a year. That's spread over. And that's double the, of course, $425 million that was previously committed. They're linking 9,500 premature deaths a year are being linked to air pollution in the city, according to King's College London. And it's this and all the various other bits and pieces that they're going to be trying to tackle. A lot of the money is going to be spent phasing out the diesel-only buses, which there's still quite a lot of in London, to replace them with hybrid or zero-emission double and single-deckers from 2018. So it's a bit of a while, and then they're going to start phasing all of those in. It's quite interesting if you are in London, or when I am in London. Just the number of different technologies there actually are in buses these days. So there are still some diesel ones, but once you're in really central London, it tends to be mostly hybrid buses. And sometimes, like in the city, for example, there are actually hydrogen buses that run as well, so hydrogen fuel cells. Exactly the same kind of setup as the Hyundai iX35 fuel cell vehicle. That I've driven and spoken about before in London. So that's where a lot of this money is going to help sort of swap these buses through. And they're also talking about reducing the number of buses in some of the pollution hotspots as well. I'm not convinced on how much that'll help, but never mind. It puzzles me.
Well, I don't think they can turn round and just have a go at the private motorist unless they are doing something for public transport.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the naughty, nasty air diesel charge comes in, or whatever they're going to call it, the child killer charge, or something probably equally, calm and relaxing like that. When that comes in, it's very harsh to target this, what is probably actually quite a small number of cars that are on the road from a time point of view compared to, if you looked at them individually, compared to the public transport and the taxis. Yeah. I mean, from 2018, January the 1st, 2018, that you all new black cabs have to be zero emission. So I think the taxi drivers can turn around justifiably and go, well, hang on, we're being forced to fork out money to change. If we're buying a new vehicle, it has to be clean. Well,
they're getting 65 million each. 65 million pounds of this fund is going to help them decommission taxis, but that's really for taxis more than 10 years old, and goodness knows how many miles they've done.
Yeah, but my point still stands that you can't turn around and say, yes, all you people not associated with the city really in a connected way, you pay, and we'll carry on polluting ourselves. So I mean, at least they are trying to tackle that.
I like that a lot of this is starting from the centre. Now, of course, the trouble is the flip side of this for us motorists who do have to visit the capital sometime is that he is planning to introduce his ultra low emission zone in 2019, which can see, according to Wired here, it's saying older diesel cars will be charged £12.50 on top of the congestion charge to enter the zone, which will stretch from the north to the south circular roads. That is a huge area. Really is a huge area.
But it's that zone we've talked about, isn't it?
We've discussed that many times.
Second public consultation, I'm sure.
Yes. I think so, yeah.
I think they're making it. Yes, he clearly wants to bring it in sooner, and the questions, as we've discussed, the questions on the first consultation and the second consultation are geared very much to agree with his views and to enable the office to move forward and making things happen quicker.
There's a thing here. So I noticed that also this Wired article goes on. It says that the announcements, I'm quoting here, the announcements just stop short of action being taken in other cities, with Athens, Paris, Madrid and Mexico City all recently deciding to ban diesel cars by 2025. the thing is that whilst they might stop short of the announcements by those other cities, I would say there's more chance of them happening. So sure, that they're more likely to, that what he's saying here is more likely to be actioned upon than just making a call to ban diesel cars by 2020.
Yes, I mean, he's doing more
very much how it's been
pledging,
reported in some of these others. And it was quoted as pledging last time. You're quite right. The last time we talked about this, we said how they were pledging it, and I said, yeah, well, it doesn't mean they have to do anything. People can have forgotten it by 2025. Whereas what there is here is actually firmish
lines
plans.
in sand and all sorts.
There are lines in sand. There's firmish plans, I was going to say, by like 2019, start of 2018. So we're only looking 12 months away in this kind of stuff. For that, all new black cabs have to be zero emission. And I've never seen a zero emission black cab on the road already 1 year ahead of this. So, in a way... But I actually welcome this because you've heard me time and time again, and you've now experienced it, so you know that I'm not exaggerating like mad about not so much buses, but about taxis and this in London. So I'm actually really pleased to see that there's a plan to change this, and there are those lines in the sand. So I actually, the way it's been reported by Wired here, I actually quite welcome this.
Yeah, I mean, from
broadly, generally,
it's the charge and the scrappage scheme thing that I have for the child killer zone or whatever he's going to call it.
Yeah, I have more issues. The child killer zone is the bit that bugs me.
The ultra low emission zone rather than the child killer zone.
It's now stuck in my head as the child killer zone, mate. I'm sorry, I just can't get that one out. But yeah, it's a bit annoying, but the rest is.
I can understand why they're doing that, but they're not doing any other. As we said before, there needs to be a wide approach, and it's very narrow-minded, and therefore it only looks like it's an extra tax.
Yeah, I agree.
And that also needs to be considered when we look at. Has not said we will ban them outright, because let's look at how much money that brings into the city.
Yeah, yes.
So let's move on. Let's move on to zero emissions.
Yes, let's talk about more the zero emissions, and Tesla and Norway.
Yes, we mentioned this quite a while ago. I can't remember which show it was.
Well, it was way back near the start.
But Norwegian owners were taking Tesla to court because they didn't believe that their car's performance was equal to the promises made by Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they have reached an out-of-court settlement just days before they were due to go to court, which is Monday they were supposed to be in court, of which no details have been confirmed by either party, which you do surprise me.
Not a huge surprise when it comes to dealing with Tesla, really, is it?
But I am surprised that Tesla didn't go to court.
I'm not. I'm really not. This was far easier and more sensible for Tesla.
They do like a court case, though.
They do like a court case, but I think that whenever your vehicle can only achieve its headline numbers within a very constrained set of parameters, then I think it is hard to defend this.
So once again, we get back to Tesla and their communication issues.
You do, yeah.
They really need to get that sorted, because it's doing damage. It's financially doing damage to them now.
It has been. The model they're talking about, by the way, is the Model S P85D, which the owners were saying had a lower horsepower output than that stated by Tesla. Okay. So, yeah. That's what it is. But, yeah, it is doing them damage. So, We shall see. Anyway, it's been settled, and the owners received about 65,000 Norwegian crown, which is about this is a Fortune.com article, so it's $7,700. So it's about £6.5
million at the moment.
No, you get a Norwegian crown divided by 10, so it's about £6,500 each.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I remember when it was divided by 12, and that was only in the flipping summer. There we go. Cool.
Let's move on.
It's good, and we managed to not have to pronounce the name of the lawyer from the law firm.
No, you noticed we didn't.
Which is a win. Even though I was going to have to take another run up at that one. So again, moving on from electric vehicles and talking about autonomous vehicles, so this has kind of been the two themes of the year, really, so far, is that finally the US state most associated with vehicle manufacture, Michigan, has actually put through a number of bills permitting driverless cars on the roads in the state, because as you're all aware, the United States is a set of 50 loosely coupled sort of independent countries, really. So each of the different states is having to introduce...
joined up at some times.
It does. It absolutely does, yeah. So they're each of the states is putting in place their own legislation around autonomous vehicles and what they're going to allow and what they're not going to allow. And Michigan have signed theirs now. There is a fun catch in the Michigan one, and that's the reason I bring it up, is that... sorry, I'm just laughing further down this again, a Wired article, which is that basically you're only allowed to apply for the to run self-driving vehicles if you are recognised as a vehicle manufacturer in the state of Michigan. Okay, so that covers all the usual suspects. But what it stops are people like Google. Okay, it stops Comma.ai. Well, I don't know. And that's not mentioned in here.
Are they recognised in Michigan?
I don't know.
Is it recognised in Michigan or actually built in Michigan?
Well, they definitely don't. No, they're definitely not built in Michigan. No, it's recognised in Michigan. So, people like Google, they just can't run their own Google
Silicon
cars,
Valley, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's to stop the Comma.ai's of this world. And those from running stuff. And of course, any legislation that takes place in Michigan, then one of the major employers still, despite what it might be easier to believe, is...
Ding!
Are the big three... No, that wasn't actually. Not that time. It was close.
Okay.
The major manufacturers, of course, the major employers are the vehicle manufacturers. So it's still very much in Michigan's interest to make sure they protect those organisations. But it makes people, your Lyfts, your Ubers, your Googles, that could be kind of tricky.
Well, Google are in bed with FCA, so they might get away with it.
Well, yeah, as long as it's FCA that apply, you see.
Yeah, if they apply on their behalf and are using Google as assistants, technological consultants or something.
It's worth mentioning that there are only 5 states that have passed laws dealing with autonomous driving. They are California, Nevada, Tennessee, Florida, and Michigan. And of course, as it points out there, the laws are definitely not identical. So,
God, if ever something needed a national framework or other business cliche type phrase.
Well, I was listening to. Well, what triggered this to me and how I heard this story is I was actually listening to Data Tech News Show. And someone was pointing out, I can't remember who was on that day with Tom, someone was pointing out that, of course, at the minute it's ridiculous enough at the moment that when Audi were demonstrating self-driving cars and things in Nevada, scrolls back to the list of states. Oh, I don't know. Or they were going from one place, maybe California to Nevada. They basically had to pull over at the state line and screw on the special number plates that are needed in Nevada to show that it's a self-driving car. Because it had to be showing these plates, despite the fact that it was registered elsewhere as well. They then had to add these extra plates on, pull over, get back in, and then get it driving again in order to comply properly between the two. So yeah. Interesting setup. Interesting times as well. There we go. Even today, you can see the problems. When an autonomous Audi prototype crossed from California into Nevada in January 2015, the engineers had to pull over at the border and screw on the special license plate the Silver State, that's Nevada, requires. They're saying what's inconvenient on a demo ride could prove to be a major pain in the trunk when the tech reaches the masses.
Oh no, what we can all have then is you can have
rotating number plates,
rotating license plates. Yes. Now we've got an excuse that's legal. That, you know, there's a real issue. There's a real reason why we need to do this.
The thing is, the car will just flick it round automatically.
Yes, because it would see a sign which it obviously would recognise.
Or GPS, yeah. Anyway, should we move on to the next ones? Yeah, there is totally.
We'll move on. I'm not saying we're going to grow up, but we'll move on. Project 2CV update.
Mm-hmm.
As last time we talked about it, Ian had got it all back, but had not started to screw it all back together again. He got the body back; it's been all fixed, painted, and he discussed why it was painted in the way it was rather than the way he originally planned. So that was interesting to see. But now he's actually screwing bits back in and bolting on and adding wires and lights and things like that and windscreens and all sorts of stuff. So it's really moving, it's looking more like a car again, which is excellent to see.
Well, as much like a car as a 2CV ever does.
Well, yes. I mean, there's things on it now.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I'm very jealous. It's looking good.
But Ian has been busy though.
Well, with that underway,
he bought 2 raffle tickets for a total value of £4, and he is now the owner of a Citroen ZX.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's going as far as proud yet.
No, he's found a couple of problems.
Well, like having to replace a real wheel bearing.
Yes, but I think he's happy.
I would be. Yeah, it's lovely. He's won an L-Red Citroen ZX Avantage, which I think was quite a high spec, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Quite cool. So,
which has now got me checking out the internets for car raffles now.
Oh, really?
Because if I could get one to arrive for a couple of quid, I might get away with that. Maybe.
Do you think so?
Not really. No. But I could try.
You could try. Braver man than I am, I think. No, you can't keep it at mine. But yeah, so it's well worth reading. So on the Hubnut, then there's articles on both of these and videos and stuff which people know all about if they were listening to Ian on Review the other week.
Yes,
which was intriguing about a little bit of Ian's car history, because goodness, there's been a lot of
yes, because we couldn't fit it all in.
No,
couldn't fit it all in. Well, in a natural segue from a Citroen ZX and a 2CV, we're going to move on to the very recently released, as in the last few hours, Evo Car of the Year 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Seamless segue there.
Totally seamless segue, because all of the cars in the Evo Car of the Year you would expect to find in Ian's driveway as well. Or my driveway or your driveway.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah. I'd have the Golf full of Focus or the NSX. Or the 911R.
Yes.
Or the M2.
The McLaren, the Porsche,
Aston. Oh,
the
and an autoplay
NSX. No, the R8.
I'm less keen on the R8.
They would be the ones for me. But anyway, so there is a glorious list, it's an absolutely stunning video. If you remember last year's, it's equally lovely. And they explain what they do, and you hear people discussing, 2 or 3 people discussing each of the cars in the video, and you get to see some gorgeous shots and hear some rather naughty noises from some of the cars. And there's an audio that they should be clipping and just selling that ringtones or something. So it is, as ever, it's 28 minutes of wonderfulness, celebrating everything that's wonderful driving cars, really.
Yep, I agree totally. I haven't actually watched the video yet, so I will be doing that once we've finished recording, to be honest. Yeah.
No, good. Go watch it.
It's good.
Links in show notes, as ever. Go watch, go enjoy, and then watch it again.
Mm-hmm. But we decided not to make the finalist for the Evo Car of the Year our list of the week, and instead of that, our list of the week is another one that was announced just the other day, Friday, which is the Ward's Auto 10 Best Engines list. Okay, so Ward's Auto have been... I was going to say running this competition, and I don't know that it is really running this competition, but for 22 years they have been trying to recognise outstanding engines and propulsion systems as they have to be nowadays, because it's not just engines, it's hybrids and electric systems as well. So this year there are...
And this is American-based, isn't it?
And it is American-based, so yes, my apologies. This is American-based.
So you will see a few biases.
There are quite a few biases in some of these, or certainly cars which are not available here in the UK, or really in Europe. So on the list this year, there are 3 electrified drivetrains, 2 naturally aspirated V6s, a V8, a turbocharged and supercharged, so twin-charged 4-cylinder, and a turbocharged inline 6. So the engines are, and there is quite a lot of stuff. There'll be a link to this, of course, in the show notes. There's quite a lot of articles around each of these engines as well. Yeah, and I believe they're in alphabetical order, so there's no particular winner in this. It's the 3-litre turbocharged double overhead camshaft inline 6 from the BMW 340i, which is also in the 140 and 240i here in the UK. There is the 3.6-litre double overhead camshaft V6 from the Chevy Camaro and the Cadillac ATS. The 1.5-litre, I'm not going to keep saying double overhead camshaft, they're all double overhead camshaft, okay? The 1.5-litre 4-cylinder mated to a 120 kilowatt electric motor from the Chevrolet Volt. 5.2-litre V8 from a Ford Shelby GT350 Mustang. I love the way those two segue
from the sublime to the ridiculous.
Yeah, and that Shelby Mustang is sandwiched between the Volt and the Hyundai Sonata partially hybrid electric vehicle with its 2-litre 4-cylinder and its 50 kilowatt drive motor. The 3.5-litre V6 from the Nissan Maxima. The 3-litre turbo diesel V6 from the Ram 1500 Eco Diesel, because of course a 3-litre turbo diesel. V6 is always going to be eco. Finally, another one we can buy here in the UK, which is the 2-litre turbocharged double overhead camshaft 4-cylinder boxer engine from the Subaru WRX.
Well done, Subaru.
Yes, we've driven that one. We liked that one.
Yes,
and it's
a lot.
Silly wings, and it's nice noises.
Yes.
Well, next up, number 8 is the 1.8 4-cylinder petrol engine with a 53 kilowatt drive motor from the Toyota Prius hybrid. And last but not least on the list is the 2-litre twin-charged 4-cylinder engine from the Volvo XC90. So there's I like this list because there's such a mix of everything in there. As I say, there's loads of articles there. There's another, that's just the list from page 1 of 5 in this first thing, which goes through each of the engines and why it was chosen in far more detail. It's good reading. It's quite interesting if you're into that kind of thing, and it was a little bit different.
No, good spot.
Yeah, I quite like that.
But Alan, I know our listeners,
Andrew.
Some of them may not be super organised this year.
No, I'm not.
So if they aren't, do you think we could try and help them out at Christmas?
I think that this isn't a Christmas show. We will have one that's more end of the year-y, but I do feel it's important to do this stuff a little bit before Christmas, because there's no point in putting this out between Christmas and New Year, and you chaps, it being too late, because you could miss out. You could miss out on some of the fantastic stuff from Ferrari, for example. And I don't even know where to start with this page. Would you like a Ferrari carbon fibre chess set, Andrew?
Well, finance is a bit tight this year, so how much am I looking at?
It's £1,600.
Oh, well, that sounds reasonable.
That's good, isn't it?
I thought it might be something ridiculous, like £1,650. No,
definitely not. But if that's too much for you, what about a carbon fibre backgammon set for a mere £1,150?
Well, that sounds like a positive bargain in comparison.
Yeah. That's a load of stuff. The Ferrari one, actually, do you know what? It's actually not that tasteless. Well, not in these pictures. I think it might be quite tasteless, actually. It's a little bit gauche for me. You can have Ferrari Mahjong for 1,500 quid. What's that?
You're saying it's not that tasteless. Oh, dear.
And then I looked again and thought, no, it actually is a bit tasteless. So if Ferrari is a little bit beyond the budget, what about something from Volkswagen? That is, after all, the people's car.
Well, yes.
Totally. So what about, let me pick one at random from here. What about a Volkswagen Beetle ride-on car?
Well, that sounds like
perfectly reasonable. Actually, at £79, I think that's a pretty good deal, actually. Or what about, is your Christmas tree missing some Herbie magic, Andrew?
Yes. It is missing Herbie magic.
So the Volkswagen Beetle Bauble is £5.
That's quite reasonable.
It is. It's hand-painted in gold and is 95 millimetres long and 55 millimetres tall.
Wow.
So that, along with such joys as Steiff bears and all sorts of fun stuff available from your Volkswagen dealer between now and Christmas. But if Volkswagen is a bit low down your site, and
but what about for the people who want to, who think, who experience things in other emotional, in other senses? How about, I don't know, for example...
I can't even keep a straight face at this one.
For example,
if they smell a
bit? They have wonderfully sensitive noses. Is there anything we can help them with that?
Well, you see, it would be gauche at this point to mention prices, which is why the Bentley Fragrance website, part of the Bentley collection, doesn't have prices. So there's Bentley Azure Eau de Toilette for men, and another different 5 other fragrances. I'm trying to work out if the Lalique for Bentley is actually a scent or if it's just glass. But no, it is. There will only be 499 pieces of this exquisite limited edition midnight blue crystal flasson.
Well, I'm particularly drawn to the Bentley Infinite Rush for men, which has been it's been all inspired by the Bentley Bentayga luxury SUV.
Oh, God.
It embodies the spirit of the modern adventurer. Freshness.
I'm going to be honest
top
and
notes
point
of
out
pink peppercorns and mandarin evokes a rush of adrenaline, followed by a cocktail of spices, incense and lemon, and stirring woody bass notes of amber, vetiver, and cedar. It is also in premium glass, with a high-tech crackle effect.
High-tech crackle effect. To be honest, the flask, and it does look like a flask that it comes in, is significantly better looking than the Bentayga is, mind you. So anyway, what about if yeah.
Right, what happens? But okay, I mean, up to now, that's been mainly aimed at us men.
It has.
What about the man who thinks that a woman in his life really needs to also embrace the motoring world? Is there anything we can do to help there?
Well, in a terribly sexist move, what he could do is buy the lady in his life the Mercedes-Benz nail polish set. In genuine Mercedes-Benz paintwork colours of Jupiter Red, Mountain Grey, and South Seas Blue. Guaranteed to make you look as if you have a circulation problem. And
that is only 35 of your
35
British pounds.
That's it. Yes, that's a fine one there. There's a whole set of yes. Mercedes-Benz actually is rich in Christmas ideas, and another fine one, which I actually quite like, is a set of 2 tree baubles. So tree baubles and silver coloured, with a 1952 300 SL race motif painted on the inside of the glass, and coming with silver coloured ribbons, with a classic style logo and special edition 2012 printed inside the lid of the gift box. It may be some time since this website's been updated. Supplied the gift box, trimmed
is
with
it for
red
2
velvet.
baubles?
£29.
Okay.
I do quite like them. I will give it that credit, but I'm a bit worried that it hasn't been updated since 2012. So,
okay, right. So we've covered men, we've covered kids, we've covered the tree, we've covered ladies. We've forgotten one thing in all this, though.
That's what.
What about the car?
What about if the car? So when you go out this Christmas and when you buy Mrs. Windscreen her new Lexus, what is vitally important, but this may only be available in the US, just because be careful here, is the Lexus Bow. Helping you celebrate the December to Remember sales event this holiday season. Give that special someone the gift they've always wanted and make this December one to remember.
Well, yes, it's because I've had to go to A&E and have a Lexus holiday bow removed from something.
So it is what looks like about a 2-foot diameter.
Oh, it's bigger than that. Massive.
I don't know if this isn't a real picture. It is a rendering, and I had to double check that this was actually even vaguely real.
Well, okay then, right. It is real.
But it is.
How much is it on the US website?
It is a massive red bow for the top of your Lexus, and it will cost you. And it will. But before I tell you how much it costs, it will ship on the 14th of December. So that is tomorrow. For a mere $400 to add a bow to the top of the Lexus as part of the December to Remember sales event. $400 for the bow on there.
Okay.
And at that point, I just don't know what else to say. I'm completely stumped by that. So yes, so there are some very sensible ideas. For those of you who still haven't bought all the presents yet.
Exactly. See, we are great consumer advice, helping our listeners to make it safely through the festive period without being hurt for forgetting or turning up with the cliched bunch of flowers from the petrol forecourt with the label, the price tag sort of ripped off.
Sounds like what happens in the windscreen household.
No.
Actually, Volkswagen do have some quite nice sounding stuff. Yeah, they do. Volkswagen have some quite nice sounding stuff, and as do Mercedes. So if you do have the Volkswagen or Mercedes people in your lives, then have a look. You may be a little bit late. Similarly, BMW actually have quite a tasteful collection of things as well.
Well, you mentioned it just then, though, Alan, that we are not putting this show out, this particular episode out between Christmas and New Year. However, we are going to be doing a roundup of the year. And I think we need to ask our listeners if there's any particular... yes, they do need to be quick because we're recording it this week, at the end of this week. But if there are particular topics you feel we need to discuss or go over, or that you were that you remember that we perhaps don't, please do tweet us with them, and we will look at including them in the show.
Similarly, any predictions you might have for next year as well. So this
are we going to be braver this year? Are we going to do more than one? We'll do more than one each.
That was a bit. I looked back and thought, well, I should really look at what last year's predictions were, because I knew that one of them was. I knew one of the things I'd said had come true, and I wanted to know what the others were. And I looked back to show 16 or something, or even before then, to discover that we had made one prediction each, which was somewhat lame of us. So we'll try and be a little bit more out there this year. Try and put a few more out. But if you've got any predictions, then it might be quite interesting to find out what they are. And we'll mention them on the show and then see how you got on at the end of next year.
Yes, so you can play along as well.
You two can definitely play along at home. So yeah, looking forward to that. So if you could let us know by... Well, this will go out tomorrow morning, which is Wednesday. So if you could let us know by Friday, that'd be fantastic. Is it worth mentioning what else we're going to be doing about shows over Christmas and New Year, Andrew, whilst we're talking about it?
We might as well. Yep.
So the aim of the game, guys, is that after the 20th is going to be our last news show like this. We're going to take a break from recording from the 20th through until the 10th of January, is it? So it's about 3 weeks. 2 reasons for that. One, we'd quite like a holiday. And number two, there is going to be no car news in that time. Okay, there is going to be news. I can tell you now what it's going to be. There is going to be traffic chaos on the motorways over Christmas and New Year, because that happens every single year, and yet it will be reported as if it's a surprise. And there will be weather warnings. There you go. That's it. That's all the motoring news you're going to care about between Christmas and New Year.
There may be petrol prices going up.
Oh, there might be something about petrol prices because everyone's travelling everywhere. That's fine. So I'll be in France anyway, so I don't care. You can do what you want here in the UK. But we're not going to let you suffer the traffic jams without anything to listen. So during that time, we will be putting out special editions. So some more of the reviews that we've of vehicles that we've driven over the last few months. So they're going to be coming out, and they're going to be scheduled to drop out. I think it's one a week, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah, because I don't have my calendar open at the minute. So they're going to be scheduled to drop out, and there'll be those and an accompanying article with pictures in most cases as well. So that was just a little bit of a warning, a little bit of warm-up of what's going to be happening. Not next week. This can start from the week afterwards.
Yes.
I think that covers all of that, doesn't it?
It does.
Cool. So, yeah. Don't forget that between now and next week, you can give us any feedback and share your thoughts with the show at Motoring Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, on Facebook, and on the contact page of motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Please don't forget to leave a review and ratings on iTunes or however your podcast app lets you do such a thing, as well as liking and subscribing on YouTube. It's Motoring Podcast at youtube.com/Motoring Podcast. It really does matter. Andrew, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way would be via Twitter, where if you search for @CrackWindscreen, you will find me. And what's the best way for people to get in touch with you personally, Alan?
The best way to get in touch with me is to use Twitter, where I'm at AJP Bradley. That's BRADLEY. We'll be back next week, but until then, I'll remember how to finish the show properly. It's only the 78th. We'll be back next week. Until then, I've been Alan Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clews.
And safe motoring.